we need to clear up one thing about Unrivaled. Now, the news that came out yesterday felt coordinated to me. First, you had Nafisa Collier say that the league was expanding from 30 to 36 players, which of course was going to lead to speculation, especially since in order to expand, they needed the financial backing to do so. We know that they have the TNT media rights deal and all that. But shortly thereafter, after the natural speculation that just occurred from random fans, you had articles drop, two separate ones specifically. One was Sportico, where the president of Unrivaled said that there is a roster spot open for Caitlin Clark. They're not making a full court press, but she knows that they want her. They're allowing her to decompress, and they're going to hold a spot for her. And then shortly thereafter, or nearly simultaneously, another article from Sports Business Journal came out that said that Unrivaled and Clark were in high-level talks, and that it would center around at least $1 million in salary over a short period of time, probably massive equity in the league. And someone in the article basically, I guess they were speculating based on their knowledge, said it was 60-40 Caitlin would in fact join. And then right after that, Aaliyah Boston signs up for Unrivaled. So that means 3 of the last 4 players have been Aaliyah Boston, Kate Martin, and Lexi Hull. Obviously, that would be a lure for Caitlin Clark to join Unrivaled, to play with her friends. It's just natural common sense. And then part of that was, what I referenced where the Unrivaled president, who is the husband of Nafisa Collier, was on with was interviewed, Alex Basil, depending on the pronunciation. He had an interview, and he said this about sort of the televised aspects that blew up, and I think were taken out of context. This was Profluent Sports. I don't know when this was said, but this was with Profluent Sports.
Going to create a level of access that fans haven't seen before. Our players are together, all of them under one roof for 10 straight weeks. So the content we're going to capture in practices, in post-game, in off days, it's just going to lead to more intrigue and interest in knowing who these players are, who they gravitate towards. We're going to be in season during WNBA free agency, which is another interesting component that's going to be happening in real time. So I think all those things lead to generally just more interest. It's why you've seen docuseries of what happened with F1. People want the behind the curtain look at who these players are and what's going on outside of games.
Yeah, you're building like a reality show element to it to some degree, and that's probably not the right word, but you're getting that. Yeah.
So we're going to create
So it was the host of the show who said the reality show element, and I think that's what everybody ran with, especially when he said the under one roof part. But it wasn't like, all these basketball players under one roof, and then they're being voted off. Like, that's not what he meant. To me, that was clearly not what he meant from the beginning, especially with the references that he made, to F1. When he said behind the scenes, people say that in pitches all the time. People want behind the scenes content, and they do. And to the way I took that is more, look at these Netflix series that are out now. What's it called? Starting Five, the one that's following NBA players. The one about quarterbacks in the NFL, the Hard Knocks on HBO, right? Like those sort of reality show series, not like Jersey Shore or what was the original reality show? Where they all, the MTV one, I forget, but not one of those, right? Like not one of those reality shows, but more like docu-series. Kind of, and when he says under one roof, he clarified this, but I knew that's what he meant from the beginning. It's just like the internet just will run with anything immediately. To be clear, under one roof means playing in one arena and utilizing the same practice facility. I knew that's what he meant. I knew when he said they're all under one roof, they're all playing in the same place. So when they're at practice and the camera crew is there, they can capture some anecdotes and footage from practice. When they're playing games, the camera crew is there. They can capture some footage from practice. Certain players can choose to give more access than other players, and you get that in the look of whatever they decide to put together. I doubt, I don't know if it's something that runs simultaneously. I don't know if it's something they film, package, edit, and put out later. I don't know if part of it's just the broadcast, behind we caught up with Aaliyah Boston earlier today. Or here's what Lexi Hull looked like shooting threes in practice the last week. Or here's what these players had to say about their first game. Or he referenced WNBA free agency, and that is an interesting point. Here is what players had to say about this big move that happened. Satu Sabali is now a member of the Indiana Fever. Here's the reaction from the players, or here's the reaction from, Aaliyah Boston again, a teammate now. All that obviously hypothetical, but that's the way I took that comment. But I did find the timing of the release of everything quite interesting yesterday, given the context of the expansion was announced. Then there's 2 separate articles that drop, both centered around Caitlin Clark. She was the centerpiece of both of those pieces. One saying there's an open spot, and that was Alex on the record saying that. And then the other was more informed speculation, I guess is what you would call it. But the report in that informed speculation was that there had indeed been high-level talks. So it doesn't feel like a coincidence to me that all this would come out at once. The expansion, the articles, and then the Aaliyah Boston announcement on top of the Kate Martin and Lexi Hull announcements. But I do think people ran way too much with the reality TV thing from that quick soundbite without actually listening to what he had to say. When he says access and whatnot, he's not talking about Dejanay Carrington and Caitlin Clark painting their nails together, right? Like not junk reality. He's talking about behind the scenes footage of this sport that they're promoting, this new league that they're creating. And sure, fans would want that. So I saw a lot of Clark fans like, no, don't be a part of this reality. And my sentiment's the same as all the other videos. This is her decision to make. I can't tell her what to do either way. Her call. Would I like to see it happen? Of course. I've told you that a million times. I would like to see it happen. But I'm not making this or saying this to push in any way or, to sway in any way, just to clear the air. Because when I saw that initial clip, I thought what his clarification was the situation the whole time. Meanwhile, I'm seeing all these memes online, with players in different boxes or talking about one player voting another player off the island. And I don't think with the serious investors that this league has and the serious media partners that this league has, that Unrivaled is not going to present itself like a sports league. They're not going to lean into a gossip element. If they want to last beyond being a novelty act, they have to be a basketball product.